This is K. Subbulakshmi, Assistant Professor, Department of ECE, Bharat Institute of Higher Education and Research. I'm going to handle the course Microwave Theory and Techniques. In this video, we are going to discuss about analysis of RF and microwave transmission lines. So first we will discuss about what is meant by waveguide. So a waveguide is a hollow metallic tube which has uniform cross-section area. So that waveguide is meant for transmitting electromagnetic waves by successive reflections from the inner walls of the tube. So this microwaves propagate through microwave circuits, components and devices. So this acts as a part of microwave transmission line, which is broadly called as waveguides. So a waveguide is generally preferred in microwave communication. So this waveguide is a special form of transmission line. So this waveguide is a hollow metallic tube. So normal transmission line, for example, if we take coaxial line, it has a center conductor, but this waveguide has no center conductor. So the wave propagates in a hollow metallic tube. So now we will discuss about the advantages of waveguides. Waveguides are easy to manufacture. So this waveguide can handle very large power in the range of kilowatts. So power loss is very negligible and this waveguide offer very low loss, and this microwave energy which is traveling through the waveguide so experiences lower loss when compared to a coaxial cable. So next we will discuss about types of waveguides. So there are 5 types of waveguides. They are rectangular waveguide, circular waveguide, elliptical waveguide, single ridged waveguide and double ridged waveguide. So this 5 types, we will see the diagram. So these are the 5 types of waveguide. So the rectangular waveguide. So here the wave propagating inside the tube which is rectangular in shape. The circular waveguide, it would be circular in shape, and this is elliptical, single ridged and double ridged. So next we will discuss about what are the various types of transmission lines. So we can classify transmission line into 4 types: two-wire line, coaxial cable, waveguide. So in the waveguide, most commonly used waveguides are rectangular and circular waveguide. So next is planar transmission line. So under planar transmission lines, we have 5 types of transmission lines: strip line, microstrip line, slot line, coplanar waveguide, and coplanar slot line. So now we will discuss about construction of coaxial lines. So this coaxial line is mostly used for high frequency application. So if we see the coaxial line, so if we take a cross-sectional area of coaxial line, then there will be an inner conductor. So that inner conductor diameter is small d. Then a concentric cylindrical insulating material will be around the inner conductor. So then this concentric cylindrical insulating material is surrounded by an outer conductor. So the diameter of the outer conductor is capital D. So in case of coaxial cable, the fundamental and dominant mode is the TEM mode. So TEM mode is transverse electric magnetic mode. And here, like a waveguide, in case of coaxial cable, there is no cutoff frequencies. So it passes all the frequencies. So for high frequencies, higher order non-TEM mode starts to propagate, so which causes lot of attenuation. So this is the cross-sectional view of a coaxial line. So this is the inner conductor which has diameter d. Around this inner conductor is the insulating material. Then around the insulating material is the outer conductor, and the diameter of this outer conductor is capital D. So next we will discuss about transmission line theory. So whatever may be the system, any electronic system, so if the power should be delivered between source and the load by means of wire. So we need wire to connect the source and the load in order to transmit the information from source and the load. So at low frequencies, power is to be delivered through the load through the wire. So high frequencies, either it will be wired or wireless, but low frequencies, the power is delivered to the load through the wire. So in the microwave frequency range, so the power is considered to be in both electric and magnetic field, and that are guided from place to place by some physical structures. So now we will see what is meant by the transmission line, that is microwave transmission line. So any physical structure which guides an electromagnetic wave from one place to another is called as transmission line. So next we will discuss about rectangular waveguide. So this rectangular waveguide is a conducting cylinder, but the shape will be rectangular. It has rectangular cross section. So in order to guide the propagation of waves. So in order to guide the wave in the hollow tube will be in the shape of rectangle. So this rectangular waveguide is commonly used for the transport or of radio frequency signals at frequencies in the SHF band. That is, the range of SHF band is 3 to 30 gigahertz. So the fields in the rectangular waveguide consist of number of propagating modes. This propagating modes depends on the electrical dimensions of the waveguide. So these modes are broadly classified as either transverse magnetic or transverse electric mode. So this is the geometry of field analysis in a rectangular waveguide. So here the walls of the rectangular waveguide are located at x is equal to 0, x is equal to a, y is equal to 0 and y is equal to b. So the cross-sectional dimensions of the waveguide are A and B. So this A is the wider dimension of the waveguide and B is the narrow dimension of the waveguide. So the interior of the waveguide is presumed to be consist of a low loss material. So in order to exhibit for real valued permittivity and permeability. So the walls are assumed to be perfectly conducting. So next we will discuss about circular waveguide. So this circular waveguide is a hollow metallic tube, so which transmits electromagnetic energy from one place to another. So this waveguide with a circular cross section is called as circular waveguide. So this waveguide supports both the transverse electric and magnetic modes. So this here TE11 is the dominant mode in a circular waveguide. So that is, signal in this mode propagates with minimum degradation. So the circular waveguide is easier to manufacture than the rectangular waveguide, and this one more advantage is that it is very easy to install. So this circular waveguides are used to connect a horn antenna with a reflector in tracking radars and for long distance waveguide transmission above 10 gigahertz. Next, this is the circular waveguide. So the propagation of wave will be from through this, which is circular in shape. So cutoff frequency of circular waveguide is 1.8 into C divided by 2 pi r. So the cutoff frequency is inversely proportional to the radius. So this is the radius of the circular waveguide and this is the speed of light. So next we will discuss about strip line. So these strip lines are planar transmission lines. So these strip lines are used at frequencies from 100 megahertz to 100 gigahertz. So this strip line consists of a central thin conducting strip and the width of the strip is W and this width is greater than the thickness T. So this strip line is placed inside the low loss dielectric substrate of thickness B by 2 between two wired ground plates. So the width of the ground plates is 5 times greater than the spacing between the plates and the thickness of the metallic center conductor and the thickness of the metallic ground planes are the same. So we will see the cross-sectional view of strip line transmission line. So the central conductor, this is the W is the width of the central conductor and this is the thickness of the central conductor. So the fundamental and dominant mode in strip line is the TEM mode. For B less than lambda by 2, there will be no propagation in the transverse direction. So the impedance of the strip line is inversely proportional to the width W of the inner conductor to the distance B between the ground planes. Next, we will discuss about the microstrip line. So the strip line has a disadvantage that it cannot be accessible for adjustment and tuning. So using strip line, adjustment and tuning is not possible. In order to avoid this, microstrip line scheme, which allows mounting of active or passive devices, thereby minor adjustment can be made even after the circuit has been fabricated. So microstrip line is an unsymmetrical parallel plate transmission line, so which has dielectric substrate, which has a metallized ground on the bottom and a thin conducting strip on the top with the thickness T and the width W. So the characteristic impedance of a microstrip is the function of strip line width W, thickness T, and the distance between the line and the ground plane H. So microstrip lines are many types. They are embedded microstrip, inverted microstrip, suspended microstrip, slotted microstrip transmission lines. So this is the cross-sectional view of microstrip transmission lines. Next, we will discuss about the analysis of differences between low and high frequency. So at low frequencies, the circuit elements are lumped. So the voltage and current waves will affect the entire circuit at the same time. At microwave frequency, so the circuit element is not, at the microwave frequencies, voltage and current waves do not affect the entire circuit because they are not lumped. They are distributed. So the circuit must be broken down into unit sections within which circuit elements are considered to be lumped. So this is because the dimension of the circuit are comparable to the wavelength of the wave according to the formula. L is equal to C by F, where C is the velocity of light and F is the frequency of voltage by current. So next we will discuss about transmission line concept. So this transmission line is overall transmission line length is divided into small units and the circuit elements within that small units are lumped. So if we assume the resistance of the line is 0, then this transmission line can be modeled as a LC ladder network with inductors in the series arms and capacitor in the shunt arms. So the value of inductance and capacitance determines the velocity of propagation of energy down the line. So the time taken for the wave to travel one length is equal to T in second, which is equal to LC into 0.5, and the velocity of wave is equal to V is equal to 1 by T. So impedance can be, impedance at any point is equal to Z is equal to voltage at any point divided by current at any point. So that is, we can also write it in terms of L and C by L by C into 0.5. So now we are going to discuss about transmission line concept. So we are going to see three cases. What happens when the line is terminated in its characteristic impedance, and if the line terminated in a short, and last if the line terminated in an open. So there are three cases we are going to discuss. First, we will discuss about what happens when a line terminated in its characteristic impedance. So if the transmission line end is terminated in a resistor, which is equal in value to the characteristic impedance of the line, that is, this is the formula, Z is equal to L by C into 0.5, then the voltage and current are compatible and there won't be any reflections because both the source and the load impedance are matched. So there won't be any reflections. So if we, what happens when the line terminated in a short? So when the transmission line end is terminated in a short, that is, we know that if it is short means RL is equal to 0. So the voltage at the short must be equal to the product of current and the resistance. So if a line terminated in an open, that is when the line is terminated in an open, then the resistance between open ends of the line must be 0. We know that in an open circuit, the current will not flow. So the current at the open end will be 0. So now we will discuss reflection from the resistive loads. So when a resistive load termination which is not equal to the characteristic impedance, then reflection occurs. So part of the power will be reflected back and the remaining power will be absorbed by the load. So this amount of voltage which is reflected back is called as voltage reflection coefficient. So that is defined as G is equal to V suffix R divided by V suffix P. So this VR is the reflected voltage and VI is the incident voltage. So we can define voltage reflection coefficient as ratio of reflected voltage to the incident voltage. Also, this reflection coefficient is given by G is in terms of load and source impedance as ZL minus Z0 divided by ZL plus Z0. So next we will discuss about standing waves. So first we will see what is meant by standing wave. So this standing wave is formed by the addition of incident and the reflected waves and has nodal points which remain stationary with time. So this voltage standing wave is defined as the ratio of maximum voltage to the minimum voltage. So we can also express this standing wave ratio in decibel. SWR dB is equal to 20 log 10 BSWR, this BSWR. So the maximum impedance of the line is Z max is equal to V max divided by I min, and minimum impedance will be Z min is equal to V min divided by I max. So we can write this Z min in terms of Z0 and VSWR as Z0 divided by VSWR. So now we are going to write the relationship between VSWR and reflection coefficient. So VSWR is equal to 1 plus mod G divided by 1 minus mod of G. So where G is equal to VSWR minus 1 divided by VSWR plus 1. So next we will discuss about general input impedance equation. So this input impedance of a transmission line at a distance L from the load impedance ZL with the characteristic impedance Z0 is Z input is equal to Z0 into ZL plus J Z0 BL divided by Z0 plus J ZL BL, where this B is called as phase constant or wavelength constant and is defined by the equation B is equal to 2 rho by L. So next we will discuss about what is meant by half and quarter wave transmission line. So the relationship of the input impedance and the input of the half wave transmission line with its terminating impedance is can be written by L is equal to 1 by 2 in the impedance equation. So we will get Z input is equal to ZLW. So this is the relationship of the input impedance at the input of quarter wave transmission line with its terminating impedance. So that is Z input is equal to Z input output into 0.5 W. So next we will discuss about effect of lossy line on voltage and current waves. So this effect of resistance in a transmission line is to continuously reduce the amplitude of both incident and the reflected voltage and the current waves. So we will see what is meant by skin effect. So when the frequency increases, the depth of penetration into the adjacent conductive surface decreases for boundary current which is associated with the electromagnetic wave. So this results in a confinement of voltage and current waves at the boundary of the transmission line, so which makes transmission more noisy. So the skin depth is given by skin depth M is equal to 1 by rho mg F into 0.5. So F is the frequency, M permeability and G is the conductivity. So next we will discuss about power loss. We are going to discuss about return power loss and mismatch power loss. So return power loss, when an electromagnetic wave which is traveling down a transmission line, so when there is a mismatched load or discontinuity in a line, then part of the incident power will be reflected back down the line. So that return loss is defined as P return is equal to 10 log 10 Pi divided by PR, and P return is equal to 20 log 10 1 by reflection coefficient. So mismatch power loss is, this is used to describe the loss which is caused by the reflection due to mismatched line. That is, P mismatch is equal to 10 log 10 Pi divided by Pi minus PR. Next, we will discuss about the microwave components. So the microwave components which is used will perform these functions. So the first function is terminate. Microwave component is used for terminating the wave, and we can split the wave into parts. Then we can control the direction of the wave, or we can switch the power. We can reduce the power, then sample fixed amount of power. Then we can transmit or absorb fixed frequencies. Then transmit power in one direction, shift the phase of the wave, then we can detect and mix the waves. So whatever the component which we are using for microwave will perform all these functions. So now we will discuss about the waveguide components. So the waveguide components are directional couplers, T-junctions, attenuators, impedance changing device, waveguide terminating device, slotted lines, then ferrite device, isolator switches, circulators, cavities, wave meters, filters, detectors, and mixers. So we will discuss about T's. This T's are a component, microwave component, which is used for splitting the waves from one waveguide to two other waveguide. So we have two ways. There are two ways of connecting the third arm. So if we connect the third arm along the dimension, then it is called as E plane. Along the long dimension means E plane, that is perpendicular. So along the narrow dimension means H plane. So the combination of E plane and H plane T is called as hybrid T junction, which is otherwise called as magic T. So next we will discuss about attenuators. So attenuators are the microwave device which is used to reduce the amount of power to the fixed amount or variable amount. So fixed attenuator is there, variable type attenuator is there. So these attenuators operate on the principle of interfering with the electric and magnetic field or both. So there are three types of attenuators: slide vane attenuators, flap attenuators, and rotary vane attenuators. So next, isolators. These isolators are used to prevent the reflected energy from reaching the source. So when we use an isolator, it will avoid the reflection of energy from reaching the source. So mismatch or discontinuities cause energy to be reflected back down the line. So this reflected energy is not be used. So in order to prevent the reflected energy, isolators are used. There are two types of isolators: Faraday rotational isolator and resonant absorption isolator. So next is scattering parameters. This scattering parameters are used to describe how the energy through the network propagates. So S parameters are used to describe the relationship between different ports, or it is used to describe the network in terms of amplitude and phase versus frequencies than the voltage and currents. So this S parameters are used to show how a complicated network as a simple black box, and also to easy present what happens to the signal in that network. So this is the structure of two-port network. So if the power is applied at one port, then most of the power escapes from the other port. Some of the power will be reflected back to the same port. So here V1 and or V2 is applied, then I1 and I2 is the current flows into the two-port network. So if the source is applied to the opposite port, the other two combinations are to be considered. So the traveling waves with associated powers when scattered out through the ports, microwave junction can be defined by S parameters or scattering parameters, which represents in a matrix form called the scattering matrix. So this is the microwave two-port network. Here, this A1 is the amplitude of the incident wave at port 1. A2 is the amplitude of the incident wave at port 2. B1 is the amplitude of the reflected wave at port 1. And B2 is the amplitude of the reflected wave at port 2. So this incident and the reflected wave can be related by using S matrix as this matrix B is equal to matrix S into matrix A. So we can write in this equation B1 and B2. So B1 is the reflected wave from port 1. This is from port 2. So from this we can find out this 4 S parameters, that is S11, S12, S21 and S22. So in order to find S11, we have to make this A2 a 0. So these are the S11, S122, S12 and S21. So in a microwave network, so if the incident power is Pi, the reflected power is Pr, the output power is Pa, then these are the 4 types of losses. First loss is insertion loss, which is equal to 10 log Pi divided by Po. Transmission loss or attenuation, which is 10 log Pi minus Pr divided by Po. Reflection loss is equal to 10 log Pi divided by Pi minus Pr. And return loss is equal to 10 log Pi divided by Pr. So now we will see the properties of S matrix. S matrix is always a square matrix of the order n cross n. So under perfect matched condition, the diagonal elements of S matrix are 0. S matrix is always symmetric, that is Sij is equal to Sji. S matrix is an unitary matrix. So S into S conjugate is equal to 1. This is the identity matrix. The sum of product of each term of any row or column multiplied by complex conjugate of corresponding term of another row or column is 0. Since S matrix is symmetric, so S matrix S into T is equal to matrix S. So in this video, we have discussed about analysis of RF and microwave transmission line. Thank you.